May I now request General Oberoi to give us his views on operations in the run of Kutch.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be interacting with you. Gentlemen, the India-Pakistan War of 1965 was in 3 segments, and I'm not going to belabor the point, but I've got them listed here, and I'm going to talk only about one segment, and that is the testing of waters in Kutch, or Operation Desert Hawk, as named by the Pakistanis. This skirmish, war, preliminary operation, whatever you want to call it, is amalgam of those 3 points which I have mentioned. Operation Desert Hawk was planned by Pakistan as an attack on the run of Kutch with 2 aims, which are given above on the slide: to secure areas claimed by it and draw out Indian troops from the western borders. Pakistan failed in both by the end of this particular operation. It secured some areas through arbitration much later, but even what it secured was 1/10 of what it had claimed earlier. And the initiative and advantage was always with Pakistan, because India or our troops only responded. But unfortunately, as happens in Pakistan, the Pakistan military squandered the advantages. And therefore, when the operation ended, neither side was able to show anything of what had happened at that time. And therefore, we ended up with a stalemate. A historical background, I think, is important. The origin of conflict was a border agreement when the British took over the state of Sindh, and the border was never demarcated. And thereafter, when India was partitioned, Sindh went to Pakistan and Kutch came to India. But Pakistan wanted half of the run of Kutch. And despite the border negotiations of 1960, where both countries had agreed that neither side will disturb the status quo, the Pakistanis did so. Now, geographical details, and here I want to mention as an aside that till 9 months before the operation started, my battalion was looking after the border of Kutch. And I have seen every bit of this area where the skirmishes, where the attacks, and where the operations took place. So therefore, I have a bit of an advantage as far as that is concerned. That's the run of Kutch for those who have not seen it. Flat, barren, no resources, brackish water, and as far as the Indian side is concerned, which had the run of Kutch, swampy, where the vehicles would bog down. What are the causes belli? Why did we have an attack? Why did we have this operation, Desert Hawk? From the Pakistan point of view, there was no military or economic reason for Pakistan to initiate operations. Conflict and run only offered a cheap opportunity to Pakistan to check out the capability of the Indian army. And that is why was the only reason. And Pakistan had the logistical advantage, and they were holding the high lines while we were not. From the Indian side, we responded militarily to protect the credibility of our military. But overall policy at the national level was not to get sucked in the war, and which was far removed from where the strategic value was, that is in Kashmir and in Punjab. And therefore, only minimum force was committed. Now, the initial deployment during peacetime, it was the Indus borders, in their case, the paramilitary forces, in our case, the police forces, Gujarat State Reserve Police, or SRP. The initial deployments, I told you, the army garrisons. Pakistan's controlling headquarters was 8th Infantry Division located at Quetta, commanded by none other than Major General Tika Khan, but he had not become infamous at that point of time. He was just another Major General of the Pakistani Army. India, the controlling headquarters was MNG area, static headquarters in Bombay, and 31 Infantry Brigade, a recently raised brigade, was in Ahmedabad with the battalions in 3 different locations, 4 including the artillery regiment. Details of the operations, and these are not very important because this is just because it tells you the trends. And 22 February, the Pakistani Rangers occupied a new post in Kanjarkot, which I tried to show you on the map. By 10th March, 51 Infantry Brigade of Pakistan had been deployed in its operational areas, and the Rangers were put under their command. It is only on 29th March that our brigade, which was exercising in the Little Run, was told to move for the operations. And what exercises? They were doing firing. So you can imagine what every speaker had stated about the intelligence or the lack of it which we had. Our troops reinforced the police post with MMGs and stuff and subunits. And on night of 8 and 9 April, the Pakistanis launched a brigade attack, but it floundered partly because one battalion got lost and the other battalion, although it reached its objective, did not occupy it. The police which were there, they ran back, but then the post was reoccupied by us. It was the Sardar post, named because the company commander was a Sardar. Anyway, he was also captured by the Pakistanis. And on 17th April, Indian forces were designated as the killer force, and Major General P.O. Dunn took over. And the headquarters of the Kilo sector was moved to Khavda, ahead of Bhuj. We lost the Sardar posts, Serabet, etc., 3 posts there. One of them was reoccupied by the Paras, which had been inducted. We had inducted the 2nd Brigade, 51 Para Brigade, less a battalion. And it was Pakistan 2nd Brigade, 6th Infantry Brigade, which launched the attacks and captured. Thereafter, stalemate. This is the word you've been listening to. This is the attack, 2nd attack, which the other brigade had launched from Pakistani side. Ceasefire came on 28th April. Harold Wilson, the Prime Minister of England, at that point, mooted it. It was accepted. Operations stopped on 1 May, although the final ceasefire or the formal ceasefire was on 1 July. So what is the analysis of this operation? The Pakistani army had the initiative throughout. 3 brigade-size attacks were launched by them. But the first attack was on Sardarpur, etc., as I mentioned, 2nd on the eastern side and Serabet side, and the 3rd on the Biarbet and the Chadbet areas. All attacks were launched on police posts. Pakistan did not attempt to launch anything on the army deployment. Indian troops remained essentially in the defensive. Their offensive actions were confined only to patrolling, etc., raids. India did not use the Air Force because earlier there was some type of an agreement between India and Pakistan that the Air Forces will not be employed. However, the Pakistanis did employ the Air Force, but not their fighters. They were used only for reconnaissance purposes. On our side, only our Air-OP aircraft were used, and to pretty good effect in artillery spotting. So what is the conclusion? It was a small-scale skirmish. No major gains by either side. In fact, gains were more after the ceasefire when it went to arbitration. The wrong perception learnt by the Pakistanis that the Indian troops were weak and of low morale had its repercussions later when the operations were launched in Kashmir, first in the infiltration and then the sledgehammer and thereafter the war. Military strategy was missing, ladies and gentlemen, only tactics prevailed. And there was no clarity about the goals to be achieved by the local commanders. They didn't know why are we fighting? Is it for capturing additional territory? Is it for degrading the forces on the other side or what? Now I have got, that's the end of the story as far as the 65 operations are concerned. But I have a few remarks to make. In a seminar of this nature, unless we learn something, it is just a mere recapitulation of what happened at that time or what didn't happen at that time. If the adversaries perceive that you are weak and militarily not ready, then they will again exploit this opportunity. It is not a question of keeping your powder dry, as everybody talks about. It is a question of the powder. Where is the powder? That is the more important part. And instead of hawkish statements and jingoistic statements, what we need to do is to keep the military modernized at all times. Let us not create a situation like it happened many years back when a chief had to say, we will fight with what we have. Future chiefs must ensure that they do not create this kind of a situation because of passiveness. And the final word for policy makers is ensure that the current weak Indian military gets modernized at an extremely fast pace. Unfortunately, modernization has been allowed to go into limbo for decades. And while populist measures may get you votes, and this is for the gentlemen who are in politics, they don't win wars or conflicts. And the biggest lesson for policymakers is to effect the change which they have been talking about till today. And the hierarchy of the Indian military must also thump the table if the modernization does not take place. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Vijay. Now I request General Cardozo to speak about Operation Gibraltar, which was launched by Pakistan in Jammu and Kashmir.
I feel privileged to speak to you today about Operation Gibraltar, an operation that I took part as a young company commander 50 years ago. The code name Gibraltar given to this operation originates from an offensive launched by an Arab general, Abdul Rahman, who attacked Gibraltar in Spain many centuries ago. After landing on the coast of Gibraltar, he ordered that the boats which had brought them there were to be destroyed. When he was asked why, he said, "We will not be returning. We will capture this land and make it our home." This philosophy was picked up by Pakistanis and reveals their intention to capture and annex the state of J&K to make it their own. The origin of Operation Gibraltar. General Muhammad Musa, in his book, My Version, Indo-Pak War 1965, says that Operation Gibraltar was a brainchild of Pakistani's Foreign Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and was not supported by him. Bhutto hoped to get political power and mileage from his plan, but it was turned down initially by Field Marshal Ayub Khan, the head of state, based on Muhammad Musa's advice. Bhutto, however, managed to persuade Ayub Khan subsequently, and the Pak army chief had to accept orders. The Pakistani chief's logic was that unless a guerrilla operation of this type had the support of the people, it would not succeed. The concept and the plan was evolved in January 1965. Training started in May 1965, and commanders at all levels were addressed at Murree by Field Marshal Ayub Khan, the president, in July 1965. A force of 30,000 mujahids and regulars was embodied by a presidential proclamation, and training commenced at 4 different locations in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The training focused on guerrilla and clandestine operations. Along with these mujahids and personnel of the Pak Army, there were Pakistani Special Service Group paratroopers who were to carry out specialized demolitions and specialized tasks. All these personnel were equipped with small arms, LMGs, mortars, grenades, explosives, and communication equipment. The mujahids were in Mazri uniforms, and the Pakistani army personnel were in khaki. Prior to the commencement of operations, Pakistan escalated incidents on the ceasefire line. Between January and July 1965, there were 1,800 violations of the ceasefire by Pakistan. She hoped by these violations to soften the border. Command and control. Overall command and control of this operation was vested with GOC 12 Pakistani Infantry Division Major General Akhtar Hussain Malik, who commanded the whole of POK right from northern gullies to the Chenab. The force was divided into 8 columns. The columns were commanded by majors. Columns are divided into companies, were commanded by captains, and the subordinate detachments were commanded by Pakistani GSCOs and NCOs. To infiltrate across the ceasefire line in J&K and conduct subversive activities, to create lawlessness and disorder, and to project it as an uprising of the people of J&K. The tasks in particular: to destroy bridges and lines of communication, to raid ammunition and supply dumps, to attack units and formations, to ambush convoys and patrols, to distribute arms and ammunition to be used against the local administration, to paralyze local administration, and to encourage open rebellion within the state. The infiltration plan: General Harbaksh, the Army Commander, Western Army Commander, in his book, War Dispatches Indo-Pak Conflict 1965, says that the infiltration plan was brilliant. The infiltration was to take part in small groups between the 1st and the 5th of August, to concentrate at selected points and to converge on the valley and Srinagar from different directions. These columns were to carry out their allotted tasks, and columns in the vicinity of the valley, they were to cut the roads Srinagar-Jammu, Srinagar-Kargil, thus isolating Srinagar. Having done this, they were to capture the Srinagar airport, the All India radio station, and to establish a revolutionary council and to set up a radio station, Radio Kashmir, which would proclaim the council as the law and to broadcast an appeal for recognition from all the countries of the world. The broadcast was also to be the signal for the Pak Army to launch its offensive. The infiltration commenced on 1st August 1965 and was detected by our forces only on the 5th. Counter-operations by the Indian Army. It was decided that in addition to the counter-infiltration operations by 19 and 25 Infantry Division, we needed to strike at their main bases and major infiltration routes. Towards this aim, it was decided to launch counter-offensives to capture the Hajipir and the Kishanganj bulges. Both these tasks were given to 19th Infantry Division. 68th Infantry Brigade was placed under Command 19 Div for the Hajipir offensive and was codenamed Operation Bakshi after its commander, Brigadier Z.C. Bakshi. 104 Infantry Brigade, which was already part of 19 Division, was tasked to straighten out the Kishanganj bulge. 93 Infantry Brigade was to attack from Poonch, south of Hajipir, and to link up with 68th Infantry Brigade, codenamed Operation Fawlad. The Hajipir Offensive. The Hajipir Bulge was the main route of infiltration, and its capture would seriously affect Pakistan. In brief, it involved the launching of a large-scale pincer movement with one arm on the Uri-Hajipir axis from the north, and a link up from the north and the south would cut off all routes to the Bulge. The troops under 68th Infantry Brigade were 1st Paras, 19 Punjab, 4 Rajput, 4 Sikh, 7 Bihar, with support from artillery. Troops from 93 Infantry Brigade were 2 Sikh, 3 Dogra, and 3 Rajrif. The conduct. 1st Paras. The operations commenced on 25th, 26th August. The pass was projected by high hill features at Sank, Sar. After hard fighting at all these features, 1 para occupied the pass on 28th August at 10:30 hours, led by Major Ranjit Singh Dayal. 19 Punjab, also attacking from the north, captured the formidable hill features of Bedori, Patra, Kiran, and then moved down to Ziyarat. 6 Dogra captured ring contour to provide depth to the Hajipir Pass and to consolidate the defenses. It also acted in concert with 19 Punjab for the capture of Ziyarat. Up Fawlad, 25 Infantry Rif sector, operated from the south. 3 Raj Rif captured the posts and pickets screening Raja and Chand Tekri on 30th August. 2 Sikh and 3 Dogra, after prolonged and bitter fighting, captured Raja and Chand Tekri. The CO 2nd Sikh, Lieutenant Colonel Khanna, was killed in the attempt and awarded the Mahavir Chakra. The final link-up was achieved by the capture of Kahuta by Meghdut force on 10 September 1965 at 9:30 hours. Meghdut was raised 50 years ago today on 1st September with volunteers from 3 Rajrif and 3 Rajput. It operated behind enemy lines for 8 days and went approximately 7 miles deep into POK. It was tasked to blow up the ammunition depot at Kahuta, but finding it empty, captured 2 pickets that were giving depth to Chand Tekri. So what was happening today in J&K 50 years ago? The assessments of Op Gibraltar and lessons learned. As General Oberoi said, this is the most important part of this presentation. Op Gibraltar failed because they overestimated their capability, underestimated the Indian response. They did not have the support of the locals. What did they achieve? Firstly, they tied down the better part of 2 divisions, 19 and 25. 2 more brigades had to be inducted. The infiltration force remained for more than 2 months. They penetrated deep into 25 Infantry Division and fought, and tough battles had to be fought to evict them. Lessons learnt: intelligence failure, already been spoken about. 30,000 crossed the line of control, the ceasefire line. Training was carried out for 3 months, and we did not know. Security of the ceasefire line, 30,000 can get across. Have we learnt any lessons from that? What is happening today? Reserves, we had no reserves. My battalion, the 4th Battalion, the 5th Gurkhas, had come down from the pickets to train on the 1st of August. We were used as a fire brigade, fighting all over the div sector. We were looking at convoy protection duties from Punch to Pathankot. We attacked at Pir Kalewa, Gajna, Topa, Mendar. My company was used again and again and again. I lost my company twice. I lost my platoon commanders. I lost my best NCOs. I lost many Jawans. Why? Because there was nobody else. Army cooperation, how good was it? How good is it now? At that time, we were attacked by saber jets with napalm bombs. I was hounded when I was attacking Pir Kalewa by helicopters who dropped bombs on us. We could see Pakistani helicopters operating at night when they did not have night flying capability, but they operated. Our question was, where was our Indian Air Force? I'm sure this will be tackled subsequently. There is a quote. I don't know how far it is true, but it should give us some food for thought. The only lesson we learn from military history is that we do not learn from military history. Thank you.